live from New York. It's a show that has Greg Jennings here for the A Block. It's a real treat.
I'm excited.
Nick is in Las Vegas, and we have a powerful show. Although Chris Broussard has told me to be mean this entire show.
No. I just said let the tiger out. The crowd loves the tiger. The audience loves the tiger.
Don't back off.
That's right. We need the tiger for, what is that, 120 minutes?
120 minutes? Yeah.
20 minutes of the tiger.
Yeah. We count the commercials. But we're starting with the Bengals in Baltimore tonight. Joe Burrow returning to Baltimore, where his season ended last year with an injury, a little extra motivation for him. Last matchup this year was an overtime shootout that the Ravens won 41-38. That was week 5. A lot of touchdowns, 9 overall, and both QBs had passer ratings, only 120-ish, and man, Joe Burrow was up around 137. So, Brew, we'll start with you. Who do you trust more tonight, Lamar or Joey B?
Lamar. And I like Joe Burrow. I think he's a great quarterback. But to me, this is simple. It's Lamar Jackson. Let me count the ways.
Okay.
Number one, we all know Lamar's a better runner. That goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, Greg, from what I see right now, he's an elite passer. And I know he's had great seasons throwing the football. He won his, 2 MVPs, threw it pretty well. But even then, I never thought of him as an elite passer. And maybe now you can look at the history and say, am I ready to give him that? But looking at the way he's throwing the football, he has become an elite passer. And you showed some numbers. Here's their numbers from the season. And Burrow's having arguably the best season of his career individually.
That's
and yet Lamar's got him beat in virtually everything, both of them very high completion percentage. And Burrow's numbers are great, but Lamar's are just that much better. So you got that. Secondly, Lamar has shown that he can do it and win against good teams, which Burrow has not this year. Lamar has 5 victories, Greg, over teams with 4 or more wins. Burrow has 0 victories over teams with more than 2 wins. All right? Throwing that, they're playing in Baltimore.
Yep.
Throwing that Lamar has owned Joe Burrow, has a 5-1 career record against him. Throw on that Lamar has the best run game in the league and the best running back in the league to keep the defense off balance. And Burrow has one of the worst running games. They're one of like 7 teams in the league to not average 100 yards a game rushing. So they're throwing the football. It's kind of like Dak in Dallas. We know you have to throw it, so that makes it easier on the defense. So, I trust Lamar more.
Yeah, this is a pick your poison question for me. Like, clearly both of these quarterbacks are really good quarterbacks. But for me, I'm gonna side with Joe Burrow.
Wow.
I'm gonna side with Joe Burrow because you said let me count the ways. Well, there's only one way that the Cincinnati Bengals can win. And that's with the success and on the arm of Joe Burrow. So when I look at why and how they will win, it's only because of how successful he's been and what he's able to provide them. And then the other guys defensively, they fuel and feed off of that. But if Joe Burrow doesn't have a great game, this team can't win. If Joe Burrow doesn't throw in 70% completion percentage and put up the numbers that he put up in week 5 against this team, they don't have a shot to win because they're not great defense. They're not as good as they could be defensively. And then he doesn't have as many weapons. The running game is non-existent. They're like bottom half in the league or bottom 5 or 7 in the league as far as rushing yards a game. But in order for them to win, they have to have great design plays. You're going to probably be playing without T. Higgins. And Jamar Chase has to be special. And that only happens if Joe Burrow is electric.
You're not worried about T's absence? I thought that would go the other way for you.
I can see why it would be a concern, but you've had other players step up. And there's a play that I want to show the audience and you guys where it's almost as if T. Higgins can be removed tonight and they can still have success because of other guys. We've seen Gesicki have plays, but this play in particular, you got a 6-man protection. Obviously, I'm going to circle up on Jamar Chase. He's highlighted. You see the route concept. If we can stop it right here really quick. This route concept, the importance of Andre Yoshivach, the one inside, the player inside of Jamar Chase when you watch this route, but we're going to let this play. This is what has to happen tonight. you have to depend on your offensive line to shore up protection, give Joe Burrow time, and it's all about the big plays. You're going to see this nod route. He's going to fake the seam, get the corners, hips to flip open, and it's wide open. The reason why I said Yoshibashi route was so important, look how he holds those backside defenders. If that doesn't happen, this play doesn't happen, but this can happen all without T. Higgins not being on the field tonight. T. Higgins is the receiver up at the top, but these are the types of plays they're going to have to make tonight, and that's why I say I trust Joe Burrow to make these plays if he's given the time and if he has those guys running wide open.
I agree with you in that Burrow has to play well for them to win. Lamar could have a mundane game and Derrick Henry goes off for 200 yards and they could win. But my question to you would be like, are you convinced that Burrow can have that type of game?
I am. I'm glad you asked this question. I am, because they're going against the worst pass defense in all of football.
Well, Marlon Humphrey has.
You can say that.
about
I'm
that.
glad you said that about Marlon Humphrey.
I want to see what Marlon and the guys
I'm glad you said that about Marlon Humphrey, because in that Week 5 matchup, he lined up against Jamar Chase quite often and got beat quite often. They're not afraid of Marlon Humphrey. I know he's a good corner, but as it pertains to the success that Jamar Chase has had against him, T. Higgins has had, although he's probably going to be out tonight, it doesn't matter if Humphrey's on the field or not. They will slice this back end up, and you know it. That's their
I mean, that's
loophole.
been the case, but we'll see.
Yeah, they need to show up. All right, since last game was so close, Ravens favored by 6 seems a little surprising. I know Cincy below 500, but is being a 6-point underdog disrespectful to the Bengals? We'll start with you, Greg, since you're such a Joe Burrow fan.
Please, this is disrespectful. The only other game this season that they were 6-point dogs was against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'll give you that. Okay. That's the defending champs. They have their number, cool. But the way that we saw them play them in that Week 5 matchup and only lose by a field goal, like last-second field goal in overtime, and to be, I think they were 2-point dogs and 2.5-point dogs in that matchup, and all of a sudden, we believe that the Baltimore Ravens is that much better, and the Bengals have gotten worse. No, the Bengals have actually gotten better, both offensively as well as defensively. And in their losses, albeit in their games, they only have one other loss above 6 points, and that was against
Philadelphia.
The Eagles, a couple weeks ago.
Philadelphia pummeled
They did. That's the only.
We just supposed to overlook that.
No, I'm not overlooking it. I'm not overlooking it, but for me to believe all of a sudden in a division game where you played them already, you played them tight, you pretty much had their number. It could have gone either way. Yeah. 6-point dogs in this game, that's a lot, bro.
Can I show you something, bro?
Yeah.
This is, Josh did like the gambling statistics here. Division games in the last 2 weeks by underdogs who are
there you go.
Behind, not favored.
The game is tough.
Yeah,
right?
so everybody covers. So it's close everywhere. So this would lead itself to Greg's point that just like, hey, you're familiar with this team. At the same time, I mean, even Browns Baltimore straight up won. So everybody covers.
I don't expect a rout. I respect Cincinnati. All right, I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think 6 is too high. I'm going Baltimore 38-31, which is 7.
Wow.
But here's the thing. You usually get 3 points for home. They beat them by 3 in Cincinnati. So if you figure, okay, Baltimore's maybe 3 points better, then they're at home, we're going to give them another 3, that's 6. And Philadelphia, like I said, had their way with Cincinnati. 37-17 they won. One of the reasons was because of their run game. Saquon Barkley had a great game. Now here's the other great running team in the league. Derrick Henry.
They've already played them.
Yeah, they played them tough. But I think, look, Baltimore has proven they can put up points against great defenses. Like they put up 40. Denver's got the third best. But they got the third best scoring defense in the league.
But that was a bunch of tomato cans.
But that includes
was like a prove-it
the 41. Moment. That includes the 41 Baltimore just put on.
That was a prove-it moment for Denver, and like we're not going to prove it.
All right, well, we'll
I just
see what
don't
they
buy
do
Denver.
with the Chiefs this weekend.
That's
we'll
fair.
see.
That's
but
a lot.
then they put up, 35 on Buffalo, who's obviously an elite team right now.
I buy that.
So, yeah.
Schematically, can I ask you a question? If we talk about Derrick Henry's least productive game this year, I think we would all say Chiefs game. Didn't quite know how to use him, even though it seemed pretty simple. Hand the ball off to him. But this game, before it got to overtime, he had 41 yards on 14 carries. But, and you tell me, you know better than I do, it felt like that was the plan. Like, don't let Derrick Henry beat us. So they did a good job there. But Lamar ended up beating him. Do you think that's going to be the same game plan? And then he broke it. So when you look at the
But you know that's
schedule,
Henry.
like, all right, he got 90 yards now in overtime.
That's what he does.
Right, that has to be the game. You can't allow both of these guys to just run.
So you just pick
savagely.
one.
You
Like,
gotta
let's
pick-
stop. But you think they're
gotta
gonna do the
stop-
same thing again?
You got to stop the run.
Okay.
Because it opens up too much in your passing game if you're the Baltimore Ravens. You get play action involved. And when I think about why you want to stop the run, because if you're going to beat this team, if they can run on you, if the Baltimore Ravens can run on you, it's going to be a long night. Yeah. It's pretty much over. And so you want Lamar Jackson dropping back and getting in an ego contest against Joe Burrow because you want it to be a shootout. You know your offense against their defense, I'll give the advantage to the Bengals offense.
I do agree that if I have to pick my poison, which you do with Baltimore, I'm going to try to stop the run.
Yeah, and that's no slight on Lamar.
As good as Lamar is, right, I want to see him beat me through the air rather than Henry and Lamar beating me on the ground. So I agree with that.
Okay. Sunday afternoon, Broncos head into Arrowhead as more than touchdown underdogs. Mahomes had one of his best games last week, but still posting an 11 touchdown to 9 interception stat line, only 18th in passer rating. But Tom Brady told Colin Cowherd that Mahomes almost post stats. Take a listen.
I don't think Patrick Mahomes is a lesser player because he doesn't have 25 touchdowns at this point. It's just he's not playing with guys that can produce that from the receiver position, so that naturally Patrick's job is to, and I covered him a few weeks ago when I said the job of the quarterback is to manage all the variables of the game and the season, injuries, weather, the rhythm of the offense, and then ultimately go out there and make the plays that put you in a position to win. And that's what winners do.
Okay, Greg, your reaction.
Look, I think he's absolutely spot on. Look, could this be a shot at Travis Kelce by Tom Brady?
Wow.
Oh.
I don't think so.
I'm not going to do that to you, Tom. I'm not going to do that to you, Tom. But no, he's absolutely right. Like, they didn't have, for until DeAndre Hopkins, obviously all the injuries, what we thought that they were going to have coming into this season was Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Kelce being the anchor that was going to allow all these other guys to get off to a great start. None of that manifested. And so once that got joggled up, it's like Mahomes is going to now force things. Now we see him acquire DeAndre Hopkins. He no longer has to really truly force things. He's more locked in. And now I think we'll start to see his numbers, his completion percentage, all of those things start to trend in the right direction. But Tom Brady is spot on with this. Travis Kelce is not the same player. I know he's been getting a lot more targets, a lot more opportunities, and his production is going to go up. Can he still be effective? Yes, he can, but not in the way that he has been in years past.
I was wondering, you were wondering shade at Kelce. I was wondering a little bit of shade at the boat, Mahomes.
You think?
Well, I'm just, here's
it was
only,
the other way.
and I know they have great respect. Like when we saw them do the interview, you could just see there's great respect there. But Brady, when you think of Tom Brady in the 7 Super Bowls, what do you think about?
Me?
There's a lot you can think
I mean,
about.
but
one thing I think about is he really, other than that little stint with Moss when they never even won a Super Bowl, he did not have great receivers throughout his career. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
He won an MVP with Wes Welker as his leading receiver, and Welker didn't even get 1,000 yards that year. I know you think he's a Hall of Famer, but
Well,
you're
no,
alone.
Edelman.
Oh, Edelman. Okay,
I
right.
think Edelman's a Hall of Famer.
And Welker
Welker,
was
a J-
Playoff Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
they have
playoff
that?
Hall of Famer.
No, they don't.
They should have a little wing in Canton.
But Welker and then another MVP one with Brandon Cooks as his best receiver. Cook's okay, but, you know, he wasn't like a great receiver. And so Brady did it without – now, he had Gronk, but Mahomes does have Kelce. So I think Brady even said in that quote, wide receivers. So he doesn't have the great receivers. But overall, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I agree with you. Like, I expect Mahomes to start taking off now because D-Hop is there, DeAndre Hopkins. And last week we saw Mahomes had season highs in passer rating, completion percentage, touchdowns in a game, almost threw for 300 yards for only the second time this year. So now, I mean, look, as great as Mahomes is you need some receivers. Yeah. And I think he would have been having a better individual year if Hollywood was there. That would have made Worthy probably better. But now that you have D-Hop, I would be surprised if Patrick doesn't start putting up. It might not be vintage Mahomes numbers, but I think his numbers in individual play will go up.
The reason why I think his numbers are going to go up, Watts, for me, when you think about the receivers that they've had, like Rashee Rice, young receiver, you got to work him into a role of, can I trust him? Can he be trusted consistently to run the routes, to be where he needs to be? Xavier Worthy coming in this year, you're doing the same things with him. With DeAndre Hopkins, there is no, can I trust him to do the right things, be where he needs to be? You know he's going to be there. Now all Andy Reid is doing when he's going throughout the week, how can we get D-Hop open? How can we scheme him open? You're not trying to create a fun play to where he's going to be running wide open because he can make contested catches. All you have to do is put him in position where he's going to get the ball and he's going to come through. And I think Mahomes has never had and Tyreek Hill is a completely different type of receiver. He's never had a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, a big-bodied guy that can make every contested catch, that can run every route across the middle. He's not blowing the top off any longer, but that's not why he's there. He's going to be Mr. Consistent, that guy that Travis Kelce has been all his career. That's, for me, the way he's going to play and impact this game is going to change the way Mahomes play, and he's going to give him a renewed focus.
And let me say this, it is not like this notion that it's insulting to Mahomes for people to be like a little bit critical of his play. I actually think it's the reverse. It's a compliment. It's out of respect.
Oh, that's good.
Like, a lot of us think he's the best quarterback we've ever seen. If we didn't look at it and say 11 touchdowns and 9 picks, 18th in the league in passer rate, if we didn't look at that and think what is going on, that would be an insult to him. We should look at those numbers and say, hold up, something's wrong here. And so it's out of respect that people are holding Mahomes to a higher standard. He set a huge standard for himself earlier in his career.
He did.
So we're just looking at it and saying we expect the same thing every year.
Can I ask you a question? Because Brady talked about, like, the stats don't matter. Is that, and I assume, like, winning the game is not a unique Patrick Mahomes characteristic. I assume that's a characteristic shared for every franchise quarterback. And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily know that. Are there quarterbacks, goal line, for example, like, I really want to throw this one. I really need to, like, boost this up a little bit.
Absolutely.
There are.
Absolutely.
Because I do feel like he doesn't care about that at all.
But so I would argue he does.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? There was just a clip the other day. He was like, yeah, let's run it. And I was...
When you understand the personnel that you're lacking, it's like, look, whatever it takes, let's just get the ball in the end zone. However, when we listened to him after last year, when they won it all, and the comments he made about, it wasn't a whole lot of fun. Like, it was a lot of pressure. Like, he wants to have more fun. He wants to be more exciting on offense, electrifying on offense. He doesn't have the skill guys to do that. And they did try to provide him with that. Yeah. But then these guys got hurt. And so now it's like, when we're in the red zone, it's whatever it takes because, again, I'm in a position where I don't have much to work with. Now he has DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to
But Daniel Jones wants those stats, for example.
Daniel Jones just wants to win.
He wants to remain a starter.
Well, he is that.
Riding a 14,
for now,
14-game win streak dating back to Christmas. Game 9, a bit of a trap game historically. 4 of the last 5 teams that started 8-0 lost Game 9, but 3 of them did end up making the Super Bowl. So maybe the loss is a good thing. That's what I took away. Actually, if you don't, I can't, diagnose
3 of
it. 3 of the teams made the Super Bowl that lost. One team won. They didn't make the Super Bowl, and the Patriots lost.
We knew
did.
the Steelers.
So if you win, the only team that won their 9th game didn't make the Super Bowl, right, Josh? It's actually bad. They should lose.
Yeah,
Change
that's
the questions. Anyways, Chiefs on upset alert, bro.
Yeah, I'm not picking. Will not be my upset alert pick for this week. But yeah, I think literally they are on alert. Like if we look at this schedule and we know they're better than every other team that they're facing, if somebody wants to argue Buffalo. But my point is there's no elite teams left on their schedule other than maybe the Bills. So if you're going to pick a game that they're going to lose, this is as good as any because it's a division opponent. You talked about how tough that is. Denver beat them last year. And I know they're like 12-1 against Denver, Mahomes is. But last year they beat them. Last year when Denver's defense was definitely bad, 27th in scoring defense, they held the Chiefs to 28 points in the 2 games combined. All right, so, and we know the defense is at least much better. You might not think it's elite, but it's certainly better than last year. So defensively, they can hold them. Sean Payton, we got to give him credit. He's done a good job there. And so I do think this is a game that the Chiefs could stumble and lose this game. Maybe because they lost to them last year, their antenna's up more than usual. But yeah, I think they're on alert, even though I'd pick them to win.
That part. The fact that they lost to them last year, I don't think that they take this team for granted. And again, I truly don't want to. I don't think I can say this enough about DeAndre Hopkins coming in. It almost resets the frame of mind that everybody has, because you got a guy that hasn't been in this position. He's not going to be almost like watered down by the wins because he hasn't experienced this in a long time. Like, he's excited about the position he's in. And he's going up against a really good corner. And this is going to be your first time to see him in this situation 3 weeks into the offense against a really good corner. How can you play him? Are they going to play him man-to-man? You're going to go in there with a mindset of this team. You know they're going to give you your best shot. You don't take them for granted any longer because they beat you last year, and you're going to have something to prove because of that. Patrick Mahomes, as much as he says all the right things, the record that they're 12-1 against the Broncos, he wishes it was 13-0. And so he's going to want to make that known in this week's game. I just don't see – can they lose? Yes. I don't think this is an upset alert spot.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.